Heard they talking shit about who will win and why. I'm alive, just took one to revive. Keep that vibe when we show up and collide.
Yo, what's up, everybody? This is Shah the 90 the Reaper. This is Matrix Unlocked. Like, share, and subscribe to the video if you like the content. Today, I'm just gonna get up here briefly. I always say briefly, but we know how that go. But yeah, it's gonna be brief. I just wanted to discuss something with everyone concerning, energy and frequency and vibration. So pretty much, I just want to get up here because I feel like a lot of people deal with different things, different traumas, post traumatic stress, or events that may have occurred or happened, in life where, it causes some kind of trauma, or, you're living your life and then something brings you back to that negative point. Some of my suggestions as far as how to, alleviate yourself of going through those situations. Now, I understand no one's perfect and time always or work always takes time. And if you put in the dedication and if you put in the hard work, you could definitely reach your goal. You don't have to always look at life as something that's, constantly something is always going to happen that's not really, you know, going to have a good outcome. One of the first things I always say is, you have to be optimistic, and that consists of basically, just looking at the glass half full instead of half empty. Well, if you're always in a mind state of looking at things as the glass is half empty, then you'll find yourself in situations where it's not going to be a good outcome. And, to each his own. But me personally, some of the things I try to do is always try to see the good, the positive in situations. I know sometimes going through life, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of turmoil where you feel like you may not be at a place you want to be in life, but just understand that this is only a brief moment in time. We're all here enjoying the journey. This is the journey. It's a process. It's constant evolution, mind elevation. And the way, I try to do things is I try to move and create a positive atmosphere, a positive environment, put out nothing but good energy. When I find myself in that negative space, I try to make sure that I'm still going back or resorting back to being positive, because in the end of the day, our mind is what is going to control or control the outcome, so to speak. So just know, if you're going through a rough time, a rough patch, you might have somebody you can reach out to, somebody you can always, talk to. Don't only talk to that person when you're going through something. Make sure you is someone that you talk to on a regular basis, because some people have certain individuals that they go to when they need advice, or they're down bad. And I understand, that person makes you feel safe and comfortable not sharing the information that you give them. So I can understand that. But at the same time, reach out, touch those people when you are up, when you are doing good, when you're having a blessed day, or everything seems to be falling in your favor. Don't forget to reverse that same sentiment when those individuals, shall I say, when those individuals, they want to hear the good and the positive too. You want to keep that same energy. You want to be able to speak to them when you are up, when you're having a good day, when you're having a good week, you know. So with all of that being said, I want you guys to stay positive, stay productive. A great quote that I heard in a movie one time: we can't change the world until we change ourselves. And that was in a notorious movie that came out years back, and that's true. How can you change or expect to change something around you when you don't change yourself first? Everything starts internal. Stay positive minded, no matter how things look, no matter how bad a situation may be, just try to, change your situation and your outcome by doing it in or starting in the mind first. So, some of the things I wanted to touch on is sometimes people have, they're not necessarily going through a situation, but it's people around them that are going through situations, that's battling demons, that's not knowing how to cope, and they're projecting that energy off on you. When you find yourself getting to a point where you're constantly, you know arguments or going back and forth, somebody that's creating drama all the time, you have to remove yourself from the situation. You can't let or allow that person to push their negative energy off on you. You have to be careful. It's people out here, and I said before, that are completely energy vampires. And I actually did some research, and you can also see that it's certain characteristics that fit with these certain individuals that can tell you whether they're energy vampire or not. Signs are there. Like, do they always start the conversation off on a positive note, or is it always something negative? Or is it always like a smart comment? Is it always something to kind of pull you into an argument? Once you see that, and a person has a reputation of doing that all the time, then that's a sign right there. That's the solidification right there that they are energy vampires. Now, some people might be saying, well, what's an energy vampire? Basically, somebody that gets off on ticking a person off, baiting you into a conversation that you don't want to have, or baiting you into a conversation that you two historically have never agreed upon. So if that's the case, where that individual or person is that, if that person behaves in that manner, then that's an easy way to spot or make the rightful assumption that they're an energy vampire. I'm gonna share this document that I was reading over, and I just want to share it with the people that's been following my channels, my day one A1s. It's still a new channel, so everybody right now is pretty much day one A1. Tell me what you guys think in the comments. So here's the article that I wanted to share. And it says 5 signs of an energy vampire and how to cope. Now, the article was written by Sajana Gupta and published on April the 3rd. So, this is her perspective, or should I say their perspective? Not sure if it's a male or female, but this is their perspective. These are some of the signs that you can tell. So it says energy vampires are people who sap your emotional energy, either intentionally or unconsciously. They could be friends, family members, partners, colleagues, or neighbors who feed on your care and attention and leave you feeling stressed, drained, exhausted, and overwhelmed. So, one thing I noticed about this paragraph, it says it could be intentionally or unconsciously. Some people don't even realize what they do, or the type of individual that they are. So they could be doing this in a subconscious manner where they're not even aware that they are driven by this. They're not aware that they get a thrill. It brings excitement and joy to them by baiting you into a debate or an argument. They may not even understand, because it does happen on a subconscious level as well. So I'm gonna go on to the second paragraph. Oh, notice it says friends and family members. It noted those first. So sometimes it could be the people that are closest to you that may be energy vampires in your life, because those are the people that really, the outside world don't matter to them. So it's not worth going back and forth with a stranger, whether it be about anything, sport, politics, cars you drive. So they don't really care to discuss this with a stranger. They'll rather latch on to you and drain your energy. They get their excitement from, someone that's in their inner circle. Okay, so second paragraph goes on to say relationships with energy vampires are often toxic. So this is another case. Sometimes you're in a relationship where the person is controlling or manipulative. They may be energy vampires as well. You notice in the toxic things that they may be conducting in on a daily basis in a relationship. Okay. So they can cause you to feel physically and emotionally drained, particularly if you're an empath, highly attuned to the emotions of people around you. So yeah, you do have some people that are empaths and you're highly attuned, to the emotions. So you feel things differently than other people do. You experience things differently than other people do. That makes you an empath in a certain manner, in a certain regard. So I would say, hey, you guys, if you out there and you feel like this might be you, research the word or look up that word empath, look up some of the qualities of empath, because this may be you. A lot of people are moving around out here and then they haven't truly discovered their gifts, their talents, because an empath is not always a curse. It's also a gift, because if you're an empath, you are more in tune with things around, so you kind of have a predetermination of how things are going to play out. Staying in tune, knowing if this is one of your gifts, then this may be in fact you, because a lot of times empaths attract a lot of energy vampires. Okay, so it says this article explores the types of energy vampires, the signs and characteristics of energy vampires, and some strategies that can help you protect yourself. What are the different types of energy vampires? The victim. Some people enjoy playing the victim card and always ready with the new sob story about a perceived slight. They are innocent, but the whole world is always against them. They tend to complain often and loudly about their problems. The criticizer. Some people spend a lot of time and energy criticizing other people, things, and situations. Nothing is ever good enough for them, and they can find fault with just about anything. The dramatizer. Some people create and attract a lot of drama. They always seem to be in the midst of a major catastrophe and often need your help and support. The manipulator. Some people are able to manipulate just about any situation to their advantage. They rarely have or rarely say what they mean and usually have a hidden agenda. The negative thinker. Some people always see the glass as half empty and have a very negative attitude towards life. They can always be counted on to point out the downside or potential risk without leaving any room for hope or excitement. Then you have the blamer. Some people are quick to place blame on others. They're never at fault, but always willing to hand out heaps of shame and guilt. So, whether you came across some of these certain characteristics in individuals that we just went over, it could be a person with have multiple characteristics. So, they may be the victim, they may also be a dramatizer and a manipulator, whereas another person may be a criticizer, a dramatizer, and a blamer, the negative thinker that I was speaking on earlier, that's always viewing things as half or the glass is half empty. They have a negative attitude towards life. Sometimes you have these people where you feel like you're bringing up a good situation, something positive in your life, and then they start to only point out the negative factors in it. Like I said, it always comes down to having discernment as well, because just because somebody might say a certain thing they feel like is a potential risk, is that person always, are they habitually known to point out the negative? So I'm not saying that if it's a person that you notice, usually always optimistic, usually always have a pretty much like a good positive view or perspective on things, a positive person, pretty much have positive perspectives on certain situations, then that person may just be out of love sharing with you some of the things that they see may not be going well. But if this person is like known to habitually, just shoot things down, shoot ideas down, then that person may be a negative thinker. And the blame people, and I always say this is a time where no one wants to accept accountability. No one wants to put the blame on themselves. There was always a saying growing up, that if you point the finger, you got three pointing back at you. Just something to think about, just sharing with you some of the things. So if as we scroll down, what are some of the signs of an energy vampire? These are some of the signs. They always want to be the center of attention. Energy vampires are extremely self centered and always want to be the center of attention. They dominate the conversation and ensure the focus is always on themselves. If someone else brings up a different topic, they find a way to one up them and bring the attention back to themselves. So you can definitely go through life. You can see all these characteristics play out on a daily basis. So here's some of the examples. So I guess they're giving a sequence if you're sharing something about going on vacation. It says they may comment and say, that sounds like a nice trip. It reminds me of a time when I went to Hawaii. Nothing can compare to how beautiful it was. Let me show you all the pictures. So before you can share with them your happiness about either booking a trip or going on a trip or coming back from the vacation, they're already talking about how their vacation was. You see how they immediately recentered the conversation around them. The second example or bullet point shows, I guess somebody may have had a bad situation where they got robbed or something, and they make up a situation, about them as well, or recenter the conversation on themselves. I can't believe you almost got mugged. Did I tell you about this, about the time someone tried to shoot me in the subway? So it's like it's a one up. That's like a one up right there. What I'm saying? If somebody, you telling somebody how you almost got robbed, and then they tell you how somebody tried to shoot them in the subway, or you might have known this person all your life and you never known any situation, or they never spoke on it before, but they just also happen to have this magic wow story of somebody tried to shoot them. They might not even been around, or they might have seen somebody shooting in the subway and then they just placed themselves in that. Okay, so let's scroll down. They exaggerate everything. Energy vampires tend to exaggerate every little thing that happens to them, making mountains out of molehills. I love this comment right here because this reminds me of my mother. My mother says this a lot, making mountains out of molehills. I heard her say that like growing up. They make everything sound much bigger, better, or worse than it actually is. For instance, they might say, everybody else caught tiny fish today, but mine was big as a house. My body temperature was 99 degrees last night. It was so bad, I thought I was going to die. So let's go down to the next. They blame others for everything. Energy vampires are good at playing the blame game. They always manipulate in situations, so they're never at fault. They quick to assign blame to everyone but themselves. The problem may be the weather, the train, the traffic, their loved ones, their colleagues, or even you, but never them. And that's a big thing right there, because when I started to change, when I said, I got to change the way I think, the way I move, the way I internalize things, one of the first things that I said was, you know what? I'm going to be accountable for everything that happens to me, regardless and no matter what. And that's a hard thing to do because, say, for instance, if it's a situation, say, I have a party and I invite friends over to my house. And then after the party, I notice some items are not there. This has never happened to me, but I'm just saying. Say I notice some items are missing, and somebody had the audacity that I invited into my home, my space, and they have the audacity to take something out of my house. Yeah, of course, the person who did that, they was a horrible person. However, I have to me what I'll do is what I'll do is I'll still put that on myself and hold myself accountable and saying, maybe I should have thought twice about inviting certain individuals. Maybe I invited some people that I thought were my friends that truly wasn't my friends, or my associates or something like that. So I'll find a way to hold myself accountable, because that's the only thing that I can control is myself. I can't control whether a person steals from me or not while while my back is turned. But I can control who's in my space, who's in my inner circle. So we're going to get to this part, and this probably is going to be my last part. So I'm going to go over this part right here. They always leave you feeling worn out. The stress, worry, anger, guilt, shame, sadness, disappointment, and confusion. Some people, like I said, some people get a thrill out of that. You may not understand it everyone is different. Some people get a thrill out of leaving someone else in a bad place. I'm gonna go down here and get to the positive. How can you protect yourself? And this says if you're an empath, but I'm just gonna say generalization. How can you protect yourself? So adjust your expectation. If the energy vampire is someone close to you, you may find yourself feeling upset and disappointed when they fail to reciprocate the support that you've shown them. And this happens a lot. People you may be around in your inner circle, you may always support them, you may always do stuff to make sure that they're comfortable. But when it's time to reciprocate or reverse that energy, you feel like you're slighted. You feel like you didn't get the same attention or the same love that you give them. So what they're saying is it can help to adjust your expectations and understand that they are never going to show up for you. Seeing them for who they are can help you take the necessary steps required to protect yourself against that again. Second bullet point says limit your exposure to them. You can set boundaries in your relationship with the person to limit your exposure to them as much as possible. For instance, if they're a colleague, you may have no choice but to work with them, but you can avoid eating lunch or getting coffee with them. Third bullet point, protect your emotional energy. Energy vampires feed off of emotional energy. If you do happen to interact with them, try avoid giving them the reaction they want. That way the statements and complaints doesn't really hit the same. They're not getting that same type of feel from you, that same type of energy, because that's what they're doing it for. They're actually, trying to seek some kind of emotional energy from you. That's why they call it vampire, because it's basically, the story of the vampires, they leech off people, things of that nature. So keep a neutral expression and simply shrug them off as they are not a big deal. If they don't get the reaction they're looking for, they will eventually lose interest and leave you alone. Avoid arguing with them. You might find yourself feeling tempted to argue with the person, twisted logic, negative outlook, exaggerated claims. However, doing so will only make you the villain in the next story or in their next story. Instead, stay neutral, walk away from them. No reaction is a bigger blow to them than a negative reaction. Learn to say no. If the person is asking you for something, avoid getting sucked into their vortex and learn to say no. For instance, if they're asking you to help them with the project, you can say, I'm sorry, I can't, or no, I'm busy. And the last bulletin, if it keeps happening, I know we love our close loved ones, but sometimes you have to cut a certain portion of them out your life. You don't always have to, entertain it. If it's a family member, they're in your life forever. If it's a friend and it's a friend that you always been close to, you might just have to fall back from them completely. So cut them out your life. It says, if possible, cut the person out of your life and avoid interacting with them altogether. If they're a colleague or a family member, you can't really avoid or limit the interaction. That's what I was speaking about earlier. But you can distance yourself. You can distance yourself. So you remember I shot a video. The video was immaculate deception, and I was saying at the end, guard your energy, guard your energy. With so many people that's out here, this energy vampire. Okay, so I was right. She was a female who wrote the article, and I did appreciate the information she had. I feel like this was pretty much something that I wanted to share with you guys, because I know on a day-to-day basis people encounter, people with all types of characteristics, all type of backgrounds, perspectives, just, in your general life, whether it be at work, home, at school, whatever you're into, whatever you're doing. So just remember, stay focused, stay locked in, stay positive, control everything around you as far as in your mental space, and you'll start to see things start to shape, start to change. We got to get out of this vortex, and I always say break out that matrix, because at the end of the day, you control the narrative, you control your story. This is your journey. Take the pen and write your life in existence. And I'm talking about the mental pen. So I'm gonna leave you guys with this. This has been another Matrix Unlocked. Shot of 9 Eat the Reaper. Peace and love.
Heard they talking shit about I, who will win and why. I'm alive, just took one to revive. Keep that vibe when we show up and collide.